All right, everybody, welcome into the show. How you doing, Jay?
I'm good. Is my mic working?
It is.
Hey, look at that. What do we say? First
Start
time out,
right
any
away.
difficulties.
Let's go. Good stuff. Something will mess up later on, but it'll be fine.
All right. Why'd you have to say that?
You're right. Sorry, I need to be more positive. I mean, the Cowboys are losing. It
I
should
was
be.
just about to say the Cowboys are losing. You just had that crazy Sixers win.
Dude, I cannot wait to rewatch that Sixers game later because I literally got home like as it ended, so I didn't get to see it live. But then I was like, I saw all I saw on my phone was VJ Edcombe game winner. I was like, wait, what? I was like, the rookie, and then I saw what the play. And I that chase down block by Maxey was insane.
It was
But
filthy. So
yeah,
I'll like before we get into this, I was coming back from Christmas Village with my girlfriend, and I looked at the Sixers score and I was like, oh, they're up. It was halftime and they were up 20, and I was like,
yeah,
all right, whatever. Didn't think anything. We go get food, drop her off, everything. I get back into my car. I look. I'm like, the Sixers are losing by 1, and I'm like, "What is going on?" And then I didn't think anything about it. I was like, "It's gonna be crazy." And then I saw the same thing, VJ Edgecombe game winner, and I'm like, "What?" Like,
dude, I was really at work like when the game started. Like I was doing like the UPS stuff. And I was like talking to my driver. I was like, "Oh, the Sixers are giving the Warriors belt." Like, I don't really need to pay that much attention. Like, I just rewatch this later. And then yeah, same thing. I was like on my way home. I was like down by one. I was like, "The hell happened?" I was like, "What?" So I can't wait to rewatch this one later. I'm sure it's gonna be a fun one. Especially like I can't wait to rewatch that game winning play. So exciting stuff. Actually, before we start talking NFL, I did want to touch on a couple NBA things with you because uh, a little couple of like important things kind of happened that I think we should touch on real quick. First of all, Chris Paul was released by the Clippers. I know
my
you and I
goat.
are both Chris Paul fans. I consider him a top 5 point guard of all time. I don't know where you're at with that, but
Okay, I wouldn't say top 5 all time. I he is top 10 for sure. But I like, as
yeah,
much as, like, he is made fun of for the ring thing, I do think it does matter. Not only just the ring thing, but MVP. Like, I think, alright, like, I'd put Russ over him just because of the MVP. And, yeah, I know that's probably OKC bias speaking, but they were both OKC players, whatever. Yeah.
yeah. But either way, the way the Clippers handle this situation is so atrocious to let this guy go who was probably he easily was part of the best run and team that your organization has ever had back in the day, like kind of the whole reason why like Steve Ballmer even like is able to continue to make money off of this team. I feel like when the Lob City era, when you had Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, and Blake Griffin out there, part of the main cast of the Lob City stuff. But then you also had Lou Will and Jamal Crawford at points, JJ Redick, like all
That
these
was
guys. But it was Chris Paul running everything for your team there. He was the leader on this team. Someone had to throw the lobs, and most of the time that was Chris Paul. And it was his defense as well, his activity, and just for his entire career, for him to be the small guard that has had the longevity that he's had to accomplish as much as he has. I know he doesn't have a ring, but you can't deny the skill and the talent that he's had, and that like he's just been I mean, look at his impact on OKC, what he was able to do in Phoenix, and then also I think you have to credit him for some of the stuff he was doing last year with the Spurs. With the amount of games that he played, damn near every game for them. It was able to lead and take like Stephon Castle under his wing. So say all that to say that the way the Clippers seem to handle their players who need to have their jerseys retired, right? Like Blake Griffin and then Chris Paul, all these guys, like the way they like let these guys go unceremoniously is just it's terrible, man. It's such a bad look for the organization.
Yeah, and especially the reasoning behind this that is kinda coming. Obviously, it's still messy, like, you don't know what is real,
Mhm.
but it does feel like the most, like, Clippers thing ever for it to be like, "Alright, Chris Paul was, like, being what you want from him, which is a veteran presence for the team," and to be fair, they're all veterans, so I to what degree do you
That's
need a
true. It
vet
is the unction.
Yeah, I was like, to what degree do you need a veteran presence if the entire team is a veteran presence? But either way,
Yeah.
right? Like that's what you're expecting from Chris Paul later in his years because you're not going to get the same Chris Paul from the Lob City era. You're going to get the tactical mind that's going to be a future coach. Like that's what you're getting, and that's what you kind of bring to your team. And the fact that like he wants to push the team to be better, and he's actually challenging these type of things and wanting effort from him, like from the team and the coach, and him and Ty Lue are, like, not, like, on speaking terms for weeks is what the reports
Eh,
were, like,
yeah.
it gets really crazy, and the fact that it's all over that, over a legend who is arguably, like, and I was thinking about this, right? Like, if you and obviously, like, I'm about to turn 23 next Saturday, so I don't have the same, or 22, my fault, I gave myself an extra year. I'm gonna turn 22 next Saturday, and, like, in my lifetime, if you were to say, like, who has been the most significant, like, Clippers player during this, like, decade, this century even, I would say Chris Paul. I was thinking about that, and I was like, who else would I even think about remotely, like, on the Clippers who was instrumental to their franchise and being, like, successful, and I kept going back to Chris Paul as the only person I can legitimately think of, like,
I
being
think
making
Blake
the
Griffin deserves some credit there too.
yeah, but, like, you when you get Blake Griffin, yes, Blake Griffin was a dog, but, like, ironically, I think he became better later in his career when he was in Detroit, and he got a bag and was, like, so much more, like, dangerous as a scorer, but even then, like, it all is tied to Chris Paul in some way or another because we don't get Blake Griffin performance like we do without Chris Paul there.
Mm.
He just made everything better. That's no disrespect to Blake Griffin, but I just it's just crazy that, like, especially that there was the video, when he at first, like, signed with them in the offseason, he's, like, crying in front of everyone, and it's like, that was
Yeah.
clear, like, it's a farewell tour, like, it means a lot to him. So for it to end this way, it's just really unfortunate.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we still have to kinda root for the Clippers because of your team
Well,
having their pick.
I don't gotta root for
Yeah,
them. This is like
you're the only,
I
like,
hey,
yeah.
bring Chris Paul on, like, let's get him a ring, they could let's shut up the CP0 rings people.
That would be kinda fun in a
I
way,
would
but there's no way he would see the floor.
I want that, more than I want what we're probably gonna end up talking about next, which is all the Giannis stuff.
Yeah,
I would rather OKC bring Chris Paul and just have him sit on the end of the bench, be the veteran presence for the guys, um, and do all of that and win a ring before trading for Giannis. And yes, like, this Giannis thing has been crazy because, it was reported, that, like, him and his agent are gonna sit down and have talks with, the Buck organization. That came out a couple days ago. He then
yeah.
gets hurt, which it could be, but it happened during a game. So I don't wanna say, like, "Oh, it was, it was fake." Clearly it was, that's all, skepticism. But then it came out that he had tried to get traded before the season, which I it 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 makes sense, especially because, towards the end of last season, we were hearing a lot of this trade rumor stuff, and we were wondering to what degree. And I think even a team like probably Houston even tried, especially if they were originally, we were they were their name were thrown around. Houston's name was thrown around a lot when it came to trade
Yeah,
talks with Giannis, and obviously they ended up going with KD instead, which has worked for them and it fits. But, like,
it's worked great for them.
yes, and either way, I think they would have been successful. But the thought of Giannis and Alperen Sengun is kind of terrifying. So I'm kind of glad that didn't work out. But either way, like, the Giannis stuff, it was clear that it was like there was something going on, and it wasn't just smoke. There was a natural fire, and now it's kind of continued to build. And I think, like, at this point, we're getting to, like, all right, like, it's going to happen. I think I'm on the fence of, like, if you were to say,
Well,
like, all right, like, is there a chance of it happening more or, like, happening less? I would go, like, I think it's more than likely he gets traded.
yeah, I just think it's gonna be difficult for certain teams who have been linked to him to trade for him, like teams like the Knicks, for example. Like, I don't think at present they would be able to trade for him. I just don't think it would be possible with cap restrictions and things like that. But so they would have to make other moves. So I think if a trade does happen with Giannis, which I agree with you, I do think it is probably more likely to happen. I just who knows, right? Like, this is like these in season trades, like a lot blockbuster like this one's like these could be like really.
I told y'all. I told y'all. I look, what did I say? I was like, he's gonna jinx it. We're gonna have technical difficulties. This I told him. He don't listen. What do I know though? I just happen to be here with him. Um, I don't know what he was saying. But I assume it was a good point. He usually has some good points, and I don't doubt it was a good point. But now he's just left me here. So I guess we're having a solo show. Um, okay, I'll jump into my reasoning while he's gone. As much as it would be cool to have a Giannis on the OKC team. Oh, now he comes back.
It's my fault.
You know what's crazy? I
Completely my fault.
you're gonna have to watch this back because I did, like, take a minute to just bash you and be like, this is his fault. What did I tell him?" Um,
It's on me. I'll
yeah,
accept that. I tempted fate, and there we go.
yeah,
But
but I did say too, like, to my credit, I was like, he was probably in the middle of something, pretty cool,
that
like
was gonna be my most profound take I've ever
yeah.
had, and now it's lost forever because I blacked out when I said it, so it's okay. But
Okay,
but
I'll just say that, like, and I think this is kinda what you were getting at, is that this if Giannis is to be traded, it is going to be it isn't going to be a clear cut. I think, like, this is a it I think there'll be, like, winners and, like, okay, how am I trying to word this?
it's tough because it's like if
Yeah,
you're gonna trade for him, it's gonna be so hard to do like a one-on-one trade, right? Like I
yes,
feel like it's gonna have to be a multi-team trade. It's gonna be a lot that you're asked for, and it's gonna have to be you're gonna have to involve teams that like have the assets. So it's gonna be
yeah,
teams like the Nets probably, right? That would have to be involved with it, and it just makes it more difficult because of the cap restrictions as well that happen. Like no teams like these teams are clearly actively trying to avoid like the first and second apron and bringing on a player like Giannis into a team that's trying to contend, which he obviously wants to be on, just makes everything more complicated. And then if you are going to go to a team like, for example, like OKC, which he's been linked to in the past, you're going to have to give up a bunch of assets or like younger players that you probably were enjoying and developing. And I don't think OKC should. I mean, you just won a championship and you have most of your team back. If not, you're not even better than you were. I mean, they're on a historic run right now. Nobody's talking about it, but I just the whole Giannis thing was like this has been brewing for a while. It's like everyone has seen it coming, and then the season starts like, oh, it's fine. Like they kind of started out they had a decent start to the season. He gets injured, things falter a little bit, and then now more and more reporting is going to come out. Like apparently he was upset about the Damian Lillard thing that he didn't want Damian Lillard to have to go, but then it's like your superstar player who won you a championship. He's upset that you keep making all these decisions as an organization that are negatively affecting him and the team, and he wants to be in a position to win, and they're just not right now. And he's kind of like he's still in his prime, I think, and I think he's playing excellently, like MVP level basketball still, but he's just not on a team that he's going to be able to carry all that way. And to be honest, like part of me is like I don't blame him for wanting to get out.
yeah. I'll start with that by saying, like, he's done the loyal thing. He's brought the city a championship. He's played that role of, like,
A
I stuck
homegrown
through.
championship,
Yeah.
nonetheless.
We built it, we figured it out, and we stuck through it. And now it turns to I am in the later years of my career. I should be able to end out on a positive note and choose how I end that note. And if this organization is, recently has been shown to screw players that like, Damian Lillard that I've grown accustomed to, and I thought that we could potentially, work something out, then why should I stay here? Because at what point do they say like, all right, like doesn't matter how much you've done for the city, we don't care. But what I was trying to say is that, like, either way, like, it's going to be a sacrifice for any team that is trading for Giannis or, like, the Bucks trading Giannis. And I say that because, like example for, like, an OKC, like, you're going to have to give up these assets. Sam Presti's a amazing GM, and he's going to, like, he could fleece somebody, but you're still gonna have to give up, like, a Isaiah Hartenstein in a trade like this because that's, like, you just have to. Cap restrictions and just like another young player, like you're looking, I don't know, Nikola Topic hasn't played, so I doubt like they're going to be like, well,
You
we're
would have
going
to
off
give up
of,
like an AJ Mitchell or someone like that.
yeah, especially the way he's been playing, like and this is and like okay, and yes, like especially with the draft picks this year that OKC has, like it does get to a point where it's like, all right, like do you really need like both the
No,
Jazz and the Clippers picks?
you
Like
don't.
it's the greed that like they talk about in the Bible. Like it shouldn't be that way. And it's crazy. Me as an OKC fan, I'm like, what are you gonna do, right? Like, but
No,
like,
it's a good question.
yeah,
Like we got to move on to football here soon, but like it because that is a genuine good conversation to have of like eventually of like what does OKC do with all of these assets that they have?
yeah, and like obviously, like we talked about, it's going to be like a plug-in. plug and play situation where it's like you get a player like Lou Dort who, like you're looking at and being like, all right, Cason Wallace is younger and he has a lot more potential to be better than Lou Dort. All right, next time we talk contracts, we don't why go for a Lou Dort when we have the Cason Wallace who's doing what he's doing, and have somebody in the wings who's been training behind Cason Wallace. Like they've been great at developing other players to kind of fit the mold of players who could potentially be aging or like just may get too expensive contract wise. And I think that's what is genius about the OKC rebuild. But at some point, you still do have like 20 picks. Like but either way, to kind of close this, I'm saying like no, you don't need to. You like you
Yeah.
said, you won the championship. Your core is looking good. There, and we had the same discussion at here at the station, and people ask me like, "Oh, like you excited for Giannis?" I'm like, yes, Giannis has been generational, and you still have a couple years left of like his prime. And I think OKC would definitely continue to expand that. But is it worth in the long term if it doesn't work out, if Giannis gets hurt, if Shea gets hurt, if something just doesn't fit through, you don't have the depth that like you did if you because clearly you're going to have to trade away a couple of these pieces for this megastar. Like it's too many variables.
All right, before we move on to football, just real quick off the top of your head, best team you think he could land on that's not your own. Like what? Like it doesn't have to be like what you think was like even the best of it. Like most fun.
Now I'm like, I gotta think about this and like just take a look. All right, I doubt Milwaukee trades him anywhere in the Eastern Conference. But if you trade him to the
Yeah.
West, like things get insane. I
I think you could be looking at the Warriors or the Clippers as two teams that he could go to. And I think the Warriors might end up getting to a point where they're like, we need to do something, and that you could
yeah,
trade Kaminga possibly. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's options.
I don't see what assets the Clippers have to trade.
Yeah, you're gonna have to trade a lot of unks. Like, it's
Yeah,
like the city of Milwaukee will get a little bit older, but
but then even like then it's not worth it in return. And uh, what about like I don't know. I was gonna say like okay,
it's
what?
tough.
Yeah, it is tough. And also I feel like at the same time, like, you gotta think, like, Giannis is, like, not Giannis's need in all this is, he wants to win a championship, so, like, you're not gonna send him to, like, the Pelicans or something as
God no.
like, it would just be hell for him. I genuinely
You want to know a sneaky one I thought of? And this is me not trying to be a homer.
please, are you gonna say the Blazers?
I am.
Because I looked and I was like, "You know what? I wouldn't," but, like,
You
did they
could
give
trade
up
them.
a Denny Avdija or
Yep, you give up a Denny and maybe I don't know because you link him back up with Drew Holiday, right? Who has familiarity. Damian Lillard obviously is cool with him. You get Scoot back eventually, Shaden. You could try to keep those guys, but you could give up like a Jeremy Grant as well as a Danny Avdia, and probably like whatever picks or you may think of, and then like I said, it's probably a 3-team trade anyways. But sneaky, right? I think that actually would be a fun fit.
and I do like that fit, but I also think it also is a question of where does Giannis see them, like, in terms of competing? Because I do agree, like, they're right there, but if he's getting traded to a loaded Western Conference, and it's going to take at least, I'd say 2 years before that young core really kinda gets in rhythm, is
Like
it
till next year, you would probably think because then you get Lillard back and you can
Yeah.
have those guys. And then if you have Giannis on that team, it just obviously he raises the floor of your team automatically. I think if you have Giannis on your team, you're probably on automatic 40-win team.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on because we could do it. We are here to talk football, so thank everybody for going through that. That's just NBA. There's always something going on. We'll have a full NBA show again, a show here again soon. So let's get into football, Jay, because it was a very fun Thanksgiving and then just a very fun weekend in general of football. This Thanksgiving slate, I think, was one of the better ones that we've had in a while, like beginning to end.
The Chiefs, Cowboys game was the most watched, like, game of all time.
Whatever.
I
The
I know they
Cowboys are
it feels
always
like they
gonna
say
boost
that
that
every
numbers.
year as
Yeah,
well, and
yeah. It is kind of annoying that Adam Schefter does that like every week or like every big game where it's like a holiday game or something like that. He's like, these are the biggest numbers. I'm like, well,
yeah.
duh. Like, yeah,
Everyone's putting it on their TV because it's Thanksgiving, and it's like
yeah,
it's Thanksgiving
and
football.
it's a growing league. Like the NFL is king in the U.S. So of course it's just going to continue to grow. But All right. Speaking of those, because I'll start with mine because I had one of those games, and that was the Packers and the Lions. A very, very fun game, I thought. And to be honest, man, my biggest takeaway from this game was Micah freaking Parsons. He had one of the best games of his career, and that's not hyperbole. Like he matched some career highs in this game with his pressures. That he had 10 pressures this game. It was off of 26 pass rushes. He had 2.5 sacks, 38.5% pressure rate. All his highest in a game since his rookie season. So, I mean, he was just he took over this game, I felt like. I mean, the Packers defense in general, I felt like took over. They were able to bottle up Jahmyr Gibbs, who had probably his worst game of the season. And partly it's like not really his own fault. This Lions O line, especially the interior, I mean, they just try to bring a guy out of retirement. So obviously they're struggling right now, but they really got I mean, they just got destroyed in this game, I felt like. And the D line was all over them. And this was it was we talked about like the very first time these teams played, like week one, like how much this D line took over the game for the Packers to win it. And it was they kind of did the same thing, but in a different way. Like it wasn't as like, Micah Parsons hawking him down in the backfield where it's like really scary. This was just felt like more like a complete like beginning to end, just like, hey, like we're gonna be on you all game and you're gonna have to figure it out. And they kept the pressure on, man. And like Jared Goff, like I don't think he had a bad game, but like he did his best, and they actually had a chance to win this game. But you get drops from James Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs isn't able to have game he's able, he would normally have. So I just you have to give big credit to the Packers for winning this. Although Lions fans are probably sitting there screaming at me, going like, "We don't have Laporta or Mon-Ra St. Brown," but that's fine. But you were still close enough that you would have had a chance in this. I understand the injuries are a thing, but every team is dealing with injuries at this point in the season. So some people figure it out, some people don't. It's just how sports go. It's like who's the healthiest when you get to the playoffs. But I mean, good news for the Lions is they are getting healthier and they're currently beating the Cowboys. So that'll be a big help for them. But yeah, but this game was it was a lot of fun, man. I mean, Parsons, like I said, took over. Jordan Love, I think, had one of his. I don't know if I can say it was his best game of the season, but definitely one of his better ones. I mean, he had some deep shots in this game. It's cool. I enjoy Jordan Love when he plays this sort of like aggressive way, where he's not like because I feel like at times this season, like he'll play conservative and like, well, there'll be like some throws where it's like you can make it. It might be a bit of a tight window, but like we know these are throws you can make that can give you good chunk yardage, and he just kind of like turns them down at times for like lesser throws. And so it's cool to like when he's in a game like this where it's like, all right, look, we need to win. We need to push this ball down the field. We know he has that ability. So to see him unlock that in a game like this, where it was like these games for a lot of these NFC teams, I mean, everyone's going to need these wins against each other, especially in your own division, but also against your conference opponents. So this was a big, big win for the Packers.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll start with Jordan Love because I think like you mentioned, like especially and to be fair, he's had great games this season, especially the one game in particular with the I'm forgetting which one it was, but the completion game where he was like had a crazy completion streak.
I forget what game that was,
Um
but let me look.
and like he looked really good, but it was a lot of like, all right, like there's a deep option. I'll play it safe, but it worked because that's what they needed. And I think in a game like this against especially another high powered offense, like we talk about all the time with the Eagles, needing the Eagles offense needing to keep up with the Eagles defense and being like, all right, we can only hold strong for so long. At some point, the Lions offense is going to break free because of the creativity they have, because of the weapons that they have, and you need to be able to have just enough firepower to go up against it, and that's something that like won them this game. And I think Jordan Love's aggressiveness and also a return of like a Christian Watson who's been really good since
He has been
he's
really good since
came.
he got back.
So I like those things to me kind of stand out and make this Packers team so much better than what we thought they would be, especially on the offensive end, because we knew the defensive line would take over and win games. But how much can the offense kind of chip in and do just enough to win games? Not just enough to win games, but just enough to keep up with a team like the Lions who have a high powered offense. So
Yeah, and like I said, a huge win for you. Like when it comes to like everyone's gonna be thinking about playoff seeding as we get closer and closer here. I mean, you got the Bears at the top of like the conference right now after what they did to the Eagles, and then you're gonna have the Lions and the Packers competing for wild card spots now, or for the division lead still, honestly. But this month is gonna be huge for everyone in that division, except for the Vikings are kind of already out of it. But shout out 9. All right, let's talk about your game of the week. What
yeah,
did you miss?
my game of the week was Texans Colts.
Mm.
And as promised, it was the most AFC South game of all time. And but it's not a bad thing. And I think, like, this was a game that I think we expected from the Texans defense just showed. And it all kinda starts with stopping Jonathan Taylor, and they showed the graphic, and it's like, if he has, like, a touchdown in, like, I think 90 yards or more, like, Colts have won games. And if not, the results are a bit more inconsistent. And I think that was the key for this game where they held them to no touchdowns. They were aggressive and this is the I don't know, this is another game that we've seen that Jonathan Taylor can be stopped, especially because he was on a streak where it was like, all right, like, I don't know, this man's insane. He's getting 3 touchdowns a
He was
game.
getting 3 touchdowns a
Yeah,
game for, like,
he's getting
several
a
weeks in a
hat
row.
trick of touchdowns, in a game, which for non-football or soccer fans, that means you got 3.
If you don't
Um,
know what a hat trick is, why are you watching our show?
well, dang, like, I just imagine, right, there's some really sweet, like,
I
lady
just alienated
who
someone.
tuned into our show, was like, "I really wanna see what this is," and then you said, "If you don't know what a hat trick is, get the fuck out of
Alright,
our
I
video."
didn't go that far, okay? I was just saying
And,
that's
like, now we
wild to be a sports fan and not know what a hat trick is.
okay. Either way,
Yeah, and then, yeah, hockey as well. It's not just a soccer thing.
the Texans defense is real, and I think we've seen that, and we will continue to see that, especially, hopefully, into playoffs.
Dude, yeah, look, Will Anderson is elite. Like, there's no other way to put it. The fact that he's such a complete edge rusher where it's like, yeah, he is seen as more of like the physical, like pocket crusher guy, but he can still win with speed off the edge and just with his hands, like everything. He has a counter move for everything. Like he is a very complete elite pass rusher. And then to put Daniil Hunter on the other side of him, who is that speed rusher kind of guy who could just get to the quarterback almost immediately, and then just the entire defense behind him. Dude, I'm gonna be talking about him a little bit later again. Like, sorry for the little spoiler here, but Derek Stingley is nuts. Like he is. I don't know. There's always a conversation about who the best corner in the league is, and I do think Stingley has like a case for it, like year in and year out since he's been in. And games like this just prove it even more, man. It's like you can't target him. Like he's just constantly like the sticky coverage. He's always in phase. Even if you are gonna throw it towards him, he's gonna get that breakup or he's gonna stop it immediately. Like, he is just a really crazy good corner. So to have that on the back end with the safeties that you have, with the linebacker, like this defense is generational, man. I think it is currently the best defense in the league this season. And you're right, man. Like it's one of those defenses where it's like if the Texans, who are on this 4 game or was it 4 or 5 game winning streak right now, if they can continue this winning streak right now and get themselves a chance to be in the playoffs, which is a very kind of uphill battle for them right now. It's going to be pretty difficult. They've got some important games in their own division against both the Jags and the Colts. Because I mean, they still have to play the Colts one more time. It's man, if you get a defense like this in the playoffs, they really can like help carry you to the end. Because I mean, think about like, and especially with the quarterback with CJ Stroud, right? Like you get a guy like that in the playoffs and an opportunity. I think he's someone who can take advantage of that. But it kind of reminds me sometimes of like the Giants, where it's like, look, you got that Michael Strahan led defense and Eli Manning. Like, yeah, you didn't have the best record going in, but you got a chance. And with a defense like this, I do think you have a chance. It would be awesome to see them in the playoffs, although it's more than likely not going to happen. But at the very least, this is like a kind of like the offense is starting to perform a little bit better, and it's giving you hope, if not just for the playoffs this year, but like at least going into next year, you're like, okay, we have something we can build on now. Where it's like we reshuffled our O line, we're protecting CJ Stroud a little bit better. We're getting the run game going. Like this has actually surprisingly been one of the better run offenses in the second half of the season, and that's been with like Woody Marks and Nick, like what you can get out of Nick Chubb. So the Texans in general have been very impressive, and it's like if they do make the playoffs, man, like we got to consider D'Amico Ryan's for like a Coach of the Year candidate.
I think even without it, and yes, like I you do need to have a playoff to kind of back it up. Like you can't just say like, oh, your defense was phenomenal, we'll give it to you type of vibe. But like,
Yeah,
and you mentioned like I'll start with Stingley and say like I think I don't want to say he goes under the radar because he's generational corner talent, but I think because of the constant talk about, oh, this D line is phenomenal. You got Will Anderson, you have Daniel Hunter, you have great defensive tackles who are constantly providing pressure. It's kind of you kind of don't really hear too much about Derek Stingley because quarterbacks don't have time to throw the ball. But that is part of the reason why, because we've seen that when your corners are terrible, it doesn't matter how good your defensive line is, they're going to like they're going to get fried, and they're going to have enough time to find their top guys. And that doesn't matter when you have a Derek Stingley on the field because he will completely take that away, which in turn helps the defensive line. Like,
Let
yes,
me can I
he's yeah,
there's
go ahead.
let me rattle off some stats from Derek Stingley from this season and really this game. In this against the Colts, he was only thrown out one time across 28 coverage snaps, one time, and it was an incompletion. So he pitched a perfect game. He didn't, and this is by the way, he didn't allow a single reception in their past two games now. So that's two games in a row where he's not allowing anybody to catch anything on him. And he's allowed a 45.5% completion rate when targeted over the last two seasons, which is the lowest among corners over that time span. So, I mean, just the numbers point to like he has been the best corner in the league this and last season. Man, he is just nuts. So the fact, like we said, like the Texans have an elite playmaker on every level of their defense, and sometimes multiple. Like I would say, like in the back end as well as in the front, like they've
Yeah.
got multiple.
Yeah, and they it's a big obviously, I don't have to say it's a big reason why they're on this 4-game win streak, but it is a big reason. It needs to be said. And so for their playoff chances, they currently sit outside the playoffs right now. They're like right on the bubble as an 8th seed, but they play Kansas City this week, and if they
Huge
win,
game.
their chances so their current chances sit at 59% to make the playoffs. If they beat the Chiefs, they jump to 82%.
Wow.
But the Chiefs are also well, the Chiefs' luck is it seems like it may have run out. But on the Chiefs side of this, they if they lose this game, their playoff probability drops down to 12%. It's at 34 right now. And if they win, it goes to 49, which is
The,
not good for a Chiefs team. That especially with how hot this like AFC conference has been. So
yeah, yeah. We'll talk a little bit more of that here in the next segment. But yeah, man, I just speaking of segments, oops, another technical difficulty. But yeah, I just the Texans are nuts, man. I can't. I love watching them. Like, if you told me every week, I don't care who they're playing, like you get to watch the Texans defense, I'm gonna do it. Like,
yeah.
it's always gonna be fun. Like, it's teach tape almost. So, I can just watching elite players like work together like this like in a cohesive way is just forever fun.
Yeah.
And I love defense. So screw every offense. All right, let's go on to what was your unit matchup of the week?
My unit matchup of the week was the Rams wide receivers versus the Panthers DBs, which I'll start
Dude,
with Puka Nakua. What a catch.
the catch of the year.
He immediately got outshadowed by Treylon Burks.
Who the last person you would expect to like get that. But we can talk about that later. But yeah, man, because this game was nuts.
Yeah. Okay. I'll stick to just the matchup of this first. Puka Nakua, 6 catches, 72 yards, one crazy catch. And Devontae Adams, he had no Puka had no touchdowns, but Devontae Adams had 4 catches, 58 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But I will say that for the Panthers DBs, I consider that holding your own. And especially
Yeah,
against Matthew Stafford, which they made this man uncomfortable throughout this game, which was kind of the key for this, like multiple interceptions, like on an MVP candidate. And we were going in and being like, well, Josh Allen's slipping, falling, like the interception numbers are rising. Like, is Matthew Stafford running away with this in terms of QBs? And then you got Drake May as well. Like what's going on? And now it's like, all right, like maybe we starting to see the cracks in the Rams a little bit, which is crazy.
I don't
So
see. All right, so I don't know what your opinion is of this
yeah,
game. I just feel like because the Rams had plenty of chances to win this game. I just think that like this is one of those games where it's just like the Panthers outplayed you, like just straight up the
they just
Panthers
wanted it
outplayed you.
more. And
Yeah,
I think they showed that. And that's what I was going to say is that like sometimes you go into these games and you have a Panthers team that is going against tradition and it's like it doesn't matter. We're going to go win and we're going to, and obviously like their playoff chances aren't looking good right now. They're like 19%. But still it has been great to see this team kind of, find their footing.
the
And yes,
Panthers are
like
so fun.
there has been like inconsistent moments, but like it's what you would expect. And it's if this is like if they're inconsistent and 7-6, then what is it going to be when they find consistency, get rhythm, and you have a Bryce Young that's kind of seen his full potential?
Yeah, I I don't want. Because I was going to talk about the Panthers as like a whole thing in our next segment, and so I'm going to try and like bite my tongue right now. But let me just say, the Panthers are so much fun to watch, man. And Bryce Young, this game was just it's so fun watching him when he's able to operate like this, and they're able to get the run game going, and the defense. Like, we'll stick with your matchup for now, though, because honestly, like the Puka Nakua catch, right? The one hander where he had to like it was contested, he had to pin it against his side as he's going down. Mike Jackson had perfect coverage on that, like absolutely perfect. He was even getting a hand like on the football as Puka Nakua was bringing it down. Like the ball's being caught like this, right? And then you see you see Mike Jackson like, no, I got my hand on the ball too, and it's like there's no way you're supposed to be able to hold on to that, but like Puka basically just like outstrengths him and just like was able to bring it down and pin it. It was nuts, but like I don't fault Mike Jackson for that. That was great coverage, and he actually had a really good game. So I mean, he had one of the interceptions on Matt Stafford. It was what a great game for them, man. Like it's so cool to watch a rebuilding team like this, like have moments like this where you're like, hey, like maybe in the coming years, like this is a team where they can improve. But I do enjoy you talking about like the Panthers are such a weird, like inconsistent team. It's like they have games like this, right? But then the previous week they just lost to the Niners 9-20. And then you have games where like they beat the Falcons. They beat the Falcons twice this year. They scored 30 on them both times. Like didn't allow the Falcons to score a touchdown on the first one. But then you have games against the Bills where they lose 9-40. But then they beat the Cowboys 30-27. And you're like, what is this team? I don't know, but they're a lot of fun to watch. They've been one of the most fun stories this entire season.
I think they've become what we at the start of the season thought the Raiders might be as a fun, frisky
Yeah,
team. Um,
that's so true.
and the Panthers have turned into that fun, frisky team where it's like you don't know what Panthers team you're going to get this week, but it's going to be interesting one way
Yeah,
or another, unfortunately.
yeah, it's so fun to watch, man. All right, let me talk about my unit matchup real quick, which was the Niners offense versus Brown defense. The Niners came away with this win, but I mean, dude, Miles Garrett, like I don't care what the results are, he's gonna get his. He got another sack in this game. He was nuts. Shout out to Christian McCaffrey though. That's basically what the story of this game was, and this was what I was looking at, man. Like I just what it's so cool to see Christian McCaffrey have like a bounce back like this where he was injured and then now he's able to come back and come away with this win where I don't know, like he's making people miss more than anyone else in the league. He leads the league in missed tackles with 83. Um he just it seems like when everything can be going wrong for you as an offense, to have a guy like Christian McCaffrey who can just be your workhorse. You still have George Kittle and Ricky Pierce all like doing good things for you, but I mean, it's clear that this team runs through Christian McCaffrey. Brock Purdy's not fully healthy either, so I, the fact that he's been able to stay upright this entire time and be as productive as he has, and no one's really talking about it as much as they should, I think, because he's being overshadowed by some other stuff that's been going on. But man, like I will say, man, if this 49ers team was fully healthy, they could be a really like dangerous team going to the playoffs. But and they've made some trades to help, fix their deficiencies, like on the D line specifically with like bringing on Kean White, who's been really good for them on that side of the ball. But I mean, this offense with Shanahan and McCaffrey, it feels like that's all you need. Like just have those two and a sub like an average O line, you can win games against one of the better defenses in the league.
Yeah, and it's kind of like crazy that like the one season that you get a fully well,
Well,
hopefully fully healthy. Oh, speaking of jinxing, I apologize, Christian McCaffrey. Um,
yeah,
the entire 49ers team has been getting injured. You had Fred Warner, Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle has missed some time, and the only
Bosa,
person who seems to not have gotten hurt, ironically, is Christian McCaffrey.
yeah,
Um, um,
yeah.
so it's great to see him playing at a high level again that we have all known he's capable of, and we're like we're getting to witness it and see that like our goat isn't washed, because that is a thing now. So it's just really good to see it, and then of course doing it into a great, well, I'm gonna say great Browns defense, but a pretty solid Browns defense is always good as well.
Yeah, and I mean, also though, like I do want to shout out Brock Purdy. Like he has been playing well, like since he's come back, like since the second time he's come back from injury this year, because I think they brought it back too early that first time with his toe. or was it his toe, foot? I forget exactly what it was, but
I think he had the
yeah,
same thing as Joe Burrow, right? The
I
turf
swear,
toe.
yeah, I feel like it was like a lower grade or something like that, but yeah, which by the way, Joe Burrow, we got to talk about him later. But yeah, just shout out to the 49ers offense, man. Like just forever productive with Shanahan there. It doesn't matter what you got. Yeah, toe. Thank you,
Yeah.
Nelson. All right. Okay, let's move on. Who was your player matchup?
Yeah, so my player matchup was Emeka Egbuka versus Will Johnson, rookie on rookie crime. Emeka Egbuka had 4 catches, 42 yards. I think we've kinda I don't wanna say seen him taking a step back because it's really all of the entire Buccaneers offense, that has kinda taken a step back, and it's Baker Mayfield went from MVP hopeful to now we're trying to see if you make the playoffs, and which is kind of unfortunate because this is a team that we've seen has had so much potential throughout the season, and like they are currently in the playoffs, but it's like the losing streak they were on for a little bit was like all right, like is everything okay, over there? But when you're in the NFC South, there's not too much going on. The Panthers are the closest, and they're 7-6, so I mean, it could happen. It is possible, but you're looking at a lot of help from the Saints, which I don't know how plausible that is. But either way, it was I think it was a and then these matchups are always tough. But I would say if you hold a great player like Emeka Egbuka and Will Johnson to just 42 yards on 4 catches, it's a pretty solid game.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, and I do think the Bucks like they can get healthier and look better. And I mean, look, yeah, are the Panthers like kind of right on them? Yeah, but I still think the Bucks are going to win that division
Yeah.
in the end. All right, my player matchup, I had Ashton Genty versus the Chargers defense, the run defense specifically. We don't have to talk about too much. This is more of you just being curious with what their offensive coordinator was going to do. If we're going to see like a shift. I mean, he got 15 attempts for 31 yards, and he did also catch the ball 6 times for 30 yards. So not a terrible game, but just the Raiders are the Raiders, man. Like they can't do anything right. It feels like Max Crosby's out there, getting chippy with Justin Herbert, who flops and draws flags, and it's just. I'm so disappointed in the Raiders this year, man. When you have a Brock Bowers who's having the season that he's having, you have a good talent in Ashton Genty in the backfield, and I know the receivers aren't there, and you had to get rid of Jacoby Myers, but they really could have had more of like a fun kind of spread, like faster offense that was like at least a little bit exciting. But it's just what a sad season for them, man. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but I mean, shout out to the Chargers who the Eagles will be playing next year on Monday. Well, sticking around and trying to stay within, at least that wild card spot in the AFC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I My only positive as a Raiders fan or as a Raiders outsider looking in, I would say, like, to the fan, you don't have to worry about Charles Kelly anymore. That is the one positive. Alright, so my final little flex matchup,
Mhm.
that I had was Kevin Patullo versus Philly. Um, and okay, okay. So it was funny that I took notes before the incident happened, which I will talk about in a little. But my thoughts were yes, Kevin Patullo's lost this matchup, and he's lost this matchup for weeks now. But I don't think this game was entirely on him. And I think that was very clear. Like I think like Jalen Hurts missed a couple throws. Like the one in particular is that he had Devontae Smith on a slant, but then if you look over to the right side of the field, they showed it multiple times in slow motion, which bothered me at seeing it happen. Was Dallas Goedert running right up the middle, wide open. So I like
I will say it did come out because of Hard Knocks.
yes,
That was miscommunication on their part,
yep.
which Jalen Hurts took accountability for.
Yes, and like that's positive, but like in the moment, after Eagles fans are booing them every time the offense goes 3 and out, and not even every time they're going 3 and out. In the second half, it was every miscommunication, every run that was, 1-yard gain. Like it's very clear that the city has kind of turned on not just Kevin Patullo, but Nick Sirianni now and being like, what is going on? And then they over the weekend they had the whole like where we're examining Patullo, which we don't know what the examining was, like what went into this, what was the criteria, but they did something and they decided that they're not going to change anything, which It's a decision, but, we've mentioned at this point, what else can you do? Like, it's difficult to change a play caller this late into the season, especially, like, when, like, you are still in a playoff spot, like, as much as the sky is falling, like, you have, like, a 99% chance to make the playoffs, like, it really doesn't matter, like, you'd have to really mess up, to somehow get out of it. Actually, the Cowboys suck, so you never mind, you don't even gotta worry about it anymore, like, you basically
Well, yeah, I mean, the Cowboys did win 2 games in a row against the previous Super Bowl
yeah,
contenders,
alright,
so
whatever, the Chiefs are whatever, and the Eagles are spiraling. Either way, this was all before Kevin Patullo got his house egged, which
yeah.
if you, like, would've asked, like, anybody, it seems like I honestly, like, I feel like people are taking it too seriously and being like, "Oh," like and yes, like, I'm not sitting here encouraging, like, "Oh, yeah, like, whoever did it, do it again."
You should have
Um,
done more.
yeah, like, you should have done more.
Didn't take it far enough.
Kevin Patullo had his house egged, which if you would've asked anyone in the media and how it was, like, described, you would think, like, it was, like, a burglary that happened or something with how, like, it was kinda presented, and it was, like, I thought of it more as, like, alright, like, it was dumb, and it was clearly, like, it could've, like, out of all the things that could have happened, it was a harmless prank. I saw people say, like, the worst thing about it is that you are wasting eggs in this economy on Kevin Patullo, which, to be fair, I thought was a funny aspect of this, but I will say the fact that he kinda came out, and just kinda, like, was, like, open about, just, like, it and just, like, still being like, "Oh, yeah, it happens when, these type of miscommunications happen," and it seemed like I think it was a step in the right direction instead of turning on the city, and trying to go against it, which is would have been a worse decision to be like, "Well, this is Philly, like, what else do you expect?" Like, it was the proper response, and yeah.
Well, yeah, like, it's don't ever do that, first of all, right? Like, it's a bad look. It's a bad look for Eagles fans who already are always under a microscope when it comes to, how they interact and react and just do anything involving sports, right? So, it's gonna be another one of those things that we're gonna hear about 20 years from now. It's like, "This is the team that egged their own coach's house." It's like, "Cool," and they threw batteries at Santa,
Yeah,
whatever.
I was
Like,
gonna say the batteries at Santa thing, like, it was a
yeah,
that was the
it's
main
like
comment I saw from people outside of Philly. Is like, "Well, what did you expect? They don't even like Santa."
yeah, well, Santa wears red. Don't screw you. Like, don't wear red to an Eagles game. What's wrong with you? You like what? Like feels pretty simple to me. But all right. Anyways, yeah, it's a bad luck. And but it's also indicative of like how we all feel. We're all very frustrated with how the offense is running, and the offense has looked putrid. You're right. This was one of the worst Jalen Hurts performances we've seen. But the fact still remained that these play calls and the way that they're chaining all of these plays together, the way the route concepts are going, it looks bad. And Jalen Hurts did miss some throws, and I know some people try to make excuses like, "Oh, it was very windy, and Caleb Williams wasn't throwing the ball that well either." That's fine, but you know what the Bears did do? They ran the hell out of the ball for almost 300 damn yards against the Eagles, who have been one of the better defenses until now. And people like the defense was not good in this game, right? Like obviously you get ran on that much, you had a terrible day. But at the same time, the defense has been carrying this team for like the past like month and a half, basically, to even be in a chance to have the Eagles at an 8-4 record. So this kind of felt like everything that was going to go wrong just kind of all happened at once. And it was like, look, the defense can't carry you for this long. Like eventually a game like this is going to happen where you are going to have to help out, which is what people like AJ Brown have been talking about. And I think we've had so many discussions about AJ Brown and this offense, everything going on. AJ Brown's looking more and more right as the season goes along. If we're being perfectly honest, right? Like AJ Brown, like, and a lot of it is like I don't know if you can take direct quotes from him for all of this, but like everything that he has said, everything that he's been rumored to say, he's been completely right. This offense has needed to step up to help this defense that has been playing at an elite level at times, and they just haven't. So when a game like this happens where the dam's just going to break and the Eagles defense can't just carry you the entire way, you need better communication from your offense. You need less mistakes. The penalties keep piling up week in and week out. And it's incredibly frustrating when you have a coach who is constantly saying that this team is technically sound, that they're focused on discipline, that they do the little things right. Well, you're not doing any of that right. Your offense stalls out seemingly every single drive, and the defense can't, carry you every single time, because that's just an unfair thing to ask for in a modern day NFL where offenses just are able to completely take over games. So, yeah, and then you're going against an offensive coordinator like Ben Johnson, who clearly had a plan going into this game. Like, he knew exactly how to attack the Eagles. This game was won before the ball was even snapped because Ben Johnson saw a weakness and honed in on it and kept it going the entire game. He didn't waver from it because it was working. And that's something I think maybe the Eagles could take from this, right? Take a note, watch film, see what the other team does bad, and go for it. They targeted my cousin, Reed Blankenship, like a lot this game. They were putting him in action, and everything that Reed Blankenship would do pre-snap told them everything they needed to know, and then they were able to just go down the field and score and score and score enough to pound the Eagles to the ground and win this game. So very disappointing performance from the Eagles. Yes, you shouldn't egg your coach's house, but it's very indicative and very representative of how the Eagles fans feel right now with how this team is operating.
Yeah, and I will say that, like, it I think a defensive performance like this became pretty predictable when you understand the type of defense that Vic Fangio likes to play, which is very much we will let nothing over top, nothing behind us, and we everything in front of us. It doesn't matter like what happens in front of us, and it's like you mentioned, it was like they watch film, they understand. It's like just being self-aware, right? Like it's like it's like when characters in movies like know they're in a movie. Like that's what it felt like this Bears offense was doing because it's like, all right, like yeah, we know you like to play like deep. Like, all right, so what do? We run and we're going to force you to tackle us. Like let's like go tackle Common on guy, go tackle Swift, and we'll see like how this goes. And we're gonna break your spirit. And then like your offense isn't going to do anything. So we're gonna keep breaking your spirit. So I think this was like the one time where it could have been a great opportunity for the offense and even a Saquon game to be like, all right, like they're running the ball well. It's a windy, game. It's crazy. Like let's enforce our will. Let's try to go back with this. Let's get some different type of run, some different type of options opening up and opening a Devontae Smith, an AJ Brown. But the the and once again, like this has been the issue with Kevin Matula is that the structure and the way that the flow of the offense is running is so disjointed that it becomes an issue. And it's crazy that like the and like you could give him a little bit of grace and say like, oh, it makes sense if he was previously a pass game coordinator to struggle with the run and being able to get Saquon started, but it doesn't matter. You have Saquon Barkley. You were here last year. You saw what worked, and I just I think that's the most frustrating thing for me is that like you were like where were you when the Eagles were winning these games and like doing all this because you were definitely like there with Kellen Moore like working through with him through like not just the passing stuff but like all right like we need to balance it with the run game. What does this look like you I think that's the frustrating part to me is that I keep going back to is like, what was he doing while the Eagles were winning games last season? Like, were you just like walking into the the arena every day with your eyes closed and like I don't know what happens out there, but as long as the pass game looks relatively good, we'll be okay.
Yeah, it's the Sirianni thing of it where it's like you get a lead, you start to play conservative, you play not to lose. Well, what do you do when you're down? Right? In a game like this where you're getting beat the crap out of, and the other team was holding onto the ball for what seems like basically 90% of the game, you have to take advantage of your opportunities on offense. And they were never able to do that. Extremely disappointing. And I mean, we'll see. They're playing the Chargers on Monday night, so we'll see if the Eagles again on prime time cannot embarrass themselves. All right, I think that's enough of that. Let's move on to what stood out to us this week. You want to start with anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, we kind of hinted at it. Traylon Burks, what possessed you for a minute? And well, we know what possessed him. It was Odell. Um, like that
Well,
was
hopefully just Odell on the field.
yeah, yeah. Stay away from any yachts, okay? Why don't we do that?
Yachts, whoever his financial advisor is, whatever you gotta do. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll take this like time and also say like Washington put up a fight against Denver.
Mm.
And that game was really great to see on Sunday Night Football, where it's like they were like genuinely competing and literally down to the last like play. Where obviously it went to overtime, so they had to be competing, but it literally came down to like Nick Bonito literally like solely ruining the game himself by like just making a great play, putting himself in position to get like what would have been a game-winning two-point conversion, and just completely like blow it up himself. So that game was like surprisingly like thoroughly entertaining.
Are the Cowboys coming back?
They unfortunately are. It is 30-27, and I just watched one of the well, not really routed. I kind of pushed him out the way, but pass interference doesn't exist when you're the Cowboys. So
Oh my
yeah,
goodness. They just got a 2-point conversion. All right, Lions. It's kind of an important game for y'all.
mhm.
Good lord. All right. Well, yeah, the Traylon Barks thing, man, that was the most unexpected game or guy like to make that play. It felt like I wasn't able to watch it live, but then like I tuned in like right after it happened, and I was like, "Who did he do that on?" I was like, "No, it wasn't." And I was like, "Oh, it was Riley Moss."
Yeah,
Like
I look,
I was like,
like
"Of course."
I was like, "Holy!" And I was like, "Oh, I
I was
mean."
like, "No, not Riley. Come on, man." I was like, "You gotta hold it down for us out here."
And
But
it's funny because, like, every time they talk about Riley Moss, they're like,
he's good, I swear.
he's been picked on
Like,
this year, you know? Like, and it's
yeah.
like, why do you think he's been picked on this year?
Well, well, first of all, it's because you're playing opposite of Pat Surtain. Okay, if you're playing on the opposite side of a defensive player of the year, like elite corner,
Yeah,
yeah, you're gonna get
that's
picked
what I
on.
was hinting at, nothing else.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I'm a little defensive. Okay, we just got embarrassed on national television, but yeah, I mean, there's nothing else to say. Just like what an amazing catch! Shout out to him. It's really cool to see a player like that who went through what he went through, like getting picked in the first round, getting released by the Titans, being labeled as a bust. To have a moment like that, like that's really cool. Man. It's one of those things where it's like, what was the Moneyball statement? Like, how can you not be romantic about baseball? It's like that was such a like cool, like romantic, like football moment. All right, what I wanted to talk about, which we already kind of talked about, but I'll talk about them even more, is the Panthers, man. Like, I looking forward, man. Like, it would be so cool to see them make the playoffs. Like, part of me like really wants them to make the playoffs, just for them to be like a team. Like, you know, always in basketball, there's always like, well, this isn't the team you want to play like round one. Like, it's always like the Heat usually. Like, you don't want to play the Heat in the round one, but that's like, okay, well, the Cavs clearly do. But uh, yeah, it's just the Panthers are a very exciting team, man. Bryce Young completing 15 of his 20 passes. And can we talk about like the fourth down completions to get touchdowns? That 4th and 2 to T Mac to basically ice the game was a perfectly layered throw by Bryce Young, man. That was such a great throw. And to have the balls to do that on that down, and just in that moment in general. And then he basically did the same thing with Coker to get a touchdown as well, where it's like, all right, you know what, screw it. Like him and Canales were like, all right, you know what? We know who we are. We know what this game is. We know what this opportunity is to beat a team like the Rams. We're gonna try to we're gonna win this game. Kind of like like a Dan Campbell moment where it's like we're just gonna go all out. Like we're gonna go for it on fourth. We're gonna try and score whenever we can. And man, Bryce Young took full advantage. Like I said, he only threw the ball 20 times, but he completed it 15 for 3 touchdowns. It's like fantastic job by him. The running game's still going. Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle is like a really fun mixed backfield there for you. And then, yeah, the defense just kind of stepping up. Shout out Derek Brown, man. Derek Brown had the game of his freaking life here, and he iced it. He freaking iced it for them. And like I said, like the Rams had a chance to win this game, but Derek Brown just simply said like, no, like we're gonna win this game. Like they willed their way to this win against a team that I mean I consider, and I think many consider, to be one of the top Super Bowl contenders in the league. For a young rebuilding team like this that nobody expected to even get like probably past like 5 wins, to get a win like this against that team like that is just it's fantastic.
Yeah. I will say, Jahmyr Gibbs just scored a touchdown, so that does does help a little bit. But yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. I the next thing I wanted to talk about, and we're going back to the Browns. Um, as, as we know, since Shador has been starting quarterback, there's been a lot of drama. And this just happened to be a couple of latest things. One, the post game questions to award Shador, specifically asking. You saw this right about like they were asking him questions about Stefanski and how like if he
Oh,
basically about the
yeah.
his aggressiveness on fourth down, like on fourth down attempts.
Yeah.
And Shador was just why would you ask me that question about my coach? Like I'm not gonna say anything
You
back.
trying to
Which
incriminate me? Yeah.
yeah, which is and I think that, like, that was, like, to me, the perfect summary of, like, just the Browns this year as a whole because he didn't say anything negative, like, was so positive about, like, avoiding any controversy, and you think about, like, how the Browns have treated him where it's like, "Oh, like, I mean, like, we didn't wanna draft him, like, we don't know like, we were told to draft him type of deal, and it all of the disrespect and for him to still, like, as much as he's, talked about just being super cocky, for him to take a high road in that situation, it's crazy, like, he if it was up to me, okay, obviously, NFL, whatever, like, you're in a high you're supposed to hold yourself to a higher standard, so you gotta take the humility route and everything, so,
Well,
yes.
especially like someone in Shador's position where it's like anything he says just gets over exaggerated because of who he is, who his dad is, right? So it's like he especially has to walk on eggshells anytime he's in a press conference like that.
And I just think it was handled perfectly, and it's just such a reflection of, like, the Browns organization that they couldn't do the same thing for him. And then you add on the fact that, like, Dylan Gabriel's fiance and, like, all of the TikTok comments, she was making about how, like, people in the building actually want Dylan Gabriel out there, which, like, I've seen so many people, like, in the comments being like, "Yeah, Dylan was definitely pillow talking," being like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
because
like."
how would she know, right? It's
Yeah,
him like
okay.
being it's like he's coming home at night after practice, be like, I'm telling you, my teammates, they're telling me they want me out there. It's like, all right, man, like,
We saw you out there. You couldn't see over the offensive line. Like, let's be real.
yeah.
You were missing you were missing passes, and struggling with decision making. Some of them were really
Hmm.
bad throws into tight coverage or double coverage, triple coverage. Like, these were just flat out bad throws and bad decisions. And, like, obviously, like, I don't know the guy, like, or his fiance, but, like, it just felt like it was crazy to, like, kinda make a statement like this and be like, "Well, if it were up to the Browns locker room, he'd be out there as a starting quarterback," and it's like for her exact statement to be like, "You aren't, like, in the locker room or know the coaches," and it's like, "And you do?" Like, respectfully? Like, I just yeah, it was just interesting.
I'm surprised you didn't even bring up the Jerry Judy stuff that happened too.
Oh, I
This was all the same game.
go
Him and
ahead.
Jerry Judy getting into it during the middle of the game because Judy's like, "You should have passed me the ball here," and things like that. And it's like, all right, Judy, like, come on, man. First of all, going to your rookie quarterback like that and talking to him like that in the middle of the game, but then also just being like, who do you think you are? Like, you're the one that's been dropping the passes that have come your way. So, like, what are we talking about? And so, yeah, the Browns, man, they're
Mind
such a
you, Jerry Jeudy had he could have had a touchdown, but he caught a ball last week.
and he started like skipping.
Yeah, started skipping and someone ran up behind him and punched the ball out. What we didn't see? We didn't see Sedora on the sideline, yelling at him, being like, "Well, like, why didn't you see him? Why aren't you aware of your surroundings?" Like, we didn't hear none of that. It was nothing about that. As time goes on, all I can say is Steve Smith was right.
Yes, dude. Yes. Steve Smith, listen, he might do some questionable stuff off the field with other people's well, okay, we can forget. But listen, anytime Steve Smith talks about receivers, listen, pre-draft, already in the league, whatever it is, Steve Smith is a great evaluator and of NFL or just NFL receiver talent. And yeah, you're right, man. He was right on there with Jerry Judy. All right. Next thing I want to talk about is more of a kind of like a overarching league thing. So, did you have any other player or team shout outs you wanted to do?
Nope.
Okay. So, I kind of just wanted to ask you, man, because we've kind of talked about it week to week, and I think it's becoming more of like a layered discussion. Who is your MVP so far?
I and
I haven't
okay.
even looked at the odds, by the way. I should.
Yeah, so I'll type that up as I talk, but, like, I okay, honestly, I was a big obviously big proponent of give it to Jonathan Taylor,
Mhm.
and it still could be the case. Okay, so as of right now, it is Drake May and Matthew Stafford are both oh, no, they're, like, a little separate from each other. Drake May, number 1, Matthew Stafford 2, Jordan Love 3, Josh Allen 4, Dak Prescott 5, and Caleb Williams 6. And this is according to FanDuel Sportsbook.
Can I
Um,
just say, real quick, if there was any year to give it to a defensive player,
oh, and then
is Miles
Jonathan Taylor is right there behind Caleb Williams. Miles
okay.
Garrett is I went down to as far as I'm seeing Jahmyr Gibbs, and Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, um, Jackson Smith and Jigba is above all of them. Um, Jalen Hurts even is on here. So they all Justin Herbert too. All these players have better odds, and there's not a single defensive player on here.
It's getting ridiculous because, like, I understand that the Browns are losing and they're going to keep losing, but if Miles Garrett breaks that record, he's got to at least get some votes. Like, I feel like this, and like, Drake May's been playing fantastic, and I don't, we even us, like, we haven't talked about him enough, and we will eventually, but man, like, I do think May should be the front runner for this right now, but Miles Garrett's got to be a top three in odds. Like, I just I can't it's gotta be him, Stafford, and Myles Garrett in my eyes. Like,
So
how do you feel about
I
that?
went to go like kind of check someone else's to kind of see, and I found this other one. Can you guess where they place him at?
Myles Garrett?
Yes,
5.
18th.
Uh, alright.
I,
I
I
just
I do agree with you though that I think Drake May is like probably the favorite as of right now. And it's like this what I'm about to say isn't like any disrespect to him, but it feels like it's been a lot of like, all right, who isn't the MVP? Like who can we kind of rule out of this? Like all right, like Baker Mayfield has really kind of struggled. Josh Allen has had turnover issues the past couple weeks. All right, Patrick Mahomes isn't going to make the playoffs. Like, what are we like? And I think it's a game of like who isn't the MVP so that we can lower down who is. And I think Matthew Stafford this past week, the couple of interceptions, it leads to like, all right, Drake May is like kind of stepping up and being that favorite, but and yes, he's having a great season, but it's more by like a process of elimination than it is like he's going out there every week and we are seeing phenomenal things where it is blowing us away and he is above the competition. It's like, all right, if you have a bad string of games or like you're struggling, you're out of this race.
yeah, I feel like it's gonna go to either May or Stafford at this point, and we're just I just we've talked about it time and time again, just how frustrating the MVP system is in the NFL and how it just kind of gets watered down, I feel like sometimes because it's just like, okay, who's playing the best quarterback this year? And then we'll just go from there. Unless you have some like Adrian Peterson type season, like we're not even going to consider you. So always frustrating, but yeah, Drake May I think does deserve the top spot. I will say that, but I just think Miles Garrett deserves a little bit more consideration, even though he's on the Browns. All right. Anything else you want to talk about before we move on to our previews?
Nope.
All right, let's get to it. I know you want me to go first because you always want me to go first. We're gonna go. I don't have a sicko one, don't worry, but it's the Colts and the Jaguars. I think could be. I mean, this is such an important game for both teams, and this is the first of two games that they still have to play against each other. Two teams that are. I think right now the Jaguars are. Yeah, the Jaguars are ahead of them in the standings. Even though they had the same record, the Jaguars are currently the third seed in the conference, and the first seed are winning the division at the moment. So obviously that changes if they beat each other. But I think this is. It is. I don't think it is based off of like playoff chances. This is a way more important game for the Colts than it is the Jags. And you've got the Colts who are playing, kind of in a slump right now, where you've got your quarterback playing on one leg basically because of a fractured fibula. Um, Jonathan Taylor has kind of like stalled, I would say, but he's also going to get some really good defenses and teams that are like obviously focusing on him. Um, and like we talked about, like what was happening against the Texans. Daniel Jones did still play like a good game. Like he made some passes, especially to Josh Downs, where it was like, holy crap! Like They're putting themselves in positions to like hopefully try to win that game, but they just didn't. But I mean, this game it just has so many implications for both of these guys. Like two are like of the better teams within the AFC right now. The Jaguars have been up and down like they always are, but the fact that they're in this position at 8-4 to win the division and get a better spot in the conference with the start that the Colts had, I just think this is going to be a really, really fun one to watch, man. And I want to see how the Colts handle the pass rush from the Jags this game against Josh Hines Allen and company. Who are they going to target more? Are they going to be in the middle of the field and try to go against those linebackers? Although I wouldn't suggest that. I just think this needs for the Colts to be a revival game of what their offense was early in the season, where you can hand it to Jonathan Taylor and get things going. I just don't know if that's possible when the other teams know that your quarterback is playing on one leg. So and you're just kind of daring him to make plays. He's not moving in the pocket. He's just not. If you can get pressure on Daniel Jones, you're more than likely going to get after him or force it a bad throw. So I think this is a very big kind of like watershed moment of the season for both of these teams where it's like the Jags have to take. All right, not sure what happened there. That was even like an internet thing. That wasn't on us.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with that one. I was looking, I was instantly ready to blame you, and I just could I was like, "Alright, I guess it wasn't him."
No, that was more of a service thing. But all right, but I mean, I basically said all I need to say. Like, this is just like a crazy important game for both of these teams who are trying to fight for a higher seeding in their conference, but also trying to win their division. Because I mean, I think most likely both of these teams go on to be in the playoffs, but it's just like who's going to get more of like the winning the division. Although the Colts need to watch out because they are currently the sixth seed, and there are teams behind them that could catch up, like the Texans. So I think, like I said, this is a bigger game for the Colts, and the Jaguars have to take advantage of this.
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of the Texans, that is who I'm sticking with for the second week in a row for the game of the week, and that's Texans Chiefs. I talked about it a little bit, but it's a big AFC matchup in a sense that like I really want the Texans to make the playoffs solely because, 1, I don't have to worry about them because 'cause they're on the AFC and I don't gotta worry about them, coming for the Eagles. And 2, they are a team that could definitely upset some of those teams that are higher in the AFC, especially when you go defense on defense and, especially against a team like the Broncos who, like, didn't and yes, it's kinda like their DNA to, like, Bo Nix doesn't show up to the 4th quarter and then really just does enough to win games for them, but how can you do that against a team that, like, doesn't break in the 4th quarter? And I think a team like the Texans is that, like, type of, team that, like, when the moment is big and you need a big moment from a Will Anderson Jr. or Danielle Hunter, it will come, because they are that good with pressuring the quarterback and making plays, and then you have a Derek Stingley over there, and there's and not just Derek Stingley even, like, all of their DBs have been great this year, so it it really just feels like this Texans defense is unstoppable, and pressure on Patrick Mahomes really dictates a lot of matchups that we've seen since the Super Bowl. And it's been the case this year, and the pressure that they get on Mahomes will dictate a lot of things. And I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, I think I can't wait to watch that game, man. Like this could be a game where you're like, "Oh my god, Will Anderson is like that guy." You're just like it could be like a Micah Parsons, like Miles Garrett kind of game for him. We're like, "Holy crap, like this guy just took over." Can't wait to watch that one. Okay, my unit matchup. I have the Ravens rushing offense versus the Steelers defense. And the reason I have this is obviously this is an important game for both teams where it's like no one in that division is making the wild card. It's division or bust. And we just watched the Bills destroy the Steelers in the ground game, man. Like it what I can't believe what I saw in the Bills game, man. Like they just ran and ran and ran and ran. It was like duos action. They were double teaming everybody with the interior O line, and they were getting weak zone action. It was just and TJ Watt talked about it after the game. He was like, he's like, I've never seen that before. Like they basically just ran the same two plays on us and just ran us out of the field. It was It was nuts to watch. And then, so you watch that and you're sitting there thinking like, okay, I know the Ravens O line has its issues, but you still have Lamar and Derrick Henry and some decent O linemen. You should be able to do this. You should be able to get your offense back on track after that putrid performance we just saw on Thanksgiving, where the 4 turnovers, the from Lamar by himself, Isaiah Likely getting out of the end zone, fumbling the ball, like one of the worst performers. Like it gets to the point where it was comical how bad the Ravens offense was, and Lamar looked bad. Like, look, I still hold that he should have won MVP last year. He has not looked good as of late, especially this last game against the Bengals. By the way, the worst defense in the league. They couldn't get anything going. It looked terrible. If you want to get right game, you were the number one rushing offense in the league last year. You're about to go against a team that literally just got ran off the field because the other team saw an advantage where they're like, we could just bully this team and run on them all game. The Ravens should theoretically be able to do this as well with the people that they have. So to me, this is saying like, all right, Ravens, are you going to be able to do something like this in any similar fashion? And this is a game for you where you need the win if you're going to have any chances of winning this division.
Yeah. I'm going with another running back matchup, but it's this time it is going to be the Bears running backs versus the Packers D line. And we talked about it. The Bears bullied the Eagles defense, and it was specifically those two running backs in DeAndre Swift and Kyle Guy. Shout out Rutgers. I saw them one time and he killed Temple. That's why I say
Whatever.
that. But I will say, like, you talk about like two teams who are both coming off of like just really good highs in the Packers defensive line and Micah Parsons, and then both of the Bears running backs. Like it is a perfect mashup of like, all right, like let's see who really has the hot hand. Let's see who really has the advantage. And of course, always playoff implications on the line.
Yeah, that'll be a really good one. Okay, player matchup. You ready? I got Stingley versus Mahomes. We talked at length about Stingley in the and how he's been doing this season and last season. How the completion percentage has been the best in the league, and how he hasn't allowed a completion in the past 2 games. You're going to be going up against a desperate Chiefs team, which we've talked about, and how they really need this win. So, I mean, yeah, to me this was like I was gonna say like Stingley versus receiver, but like they kind of move their guys around a lot, and I was just like, to me this is Stingley versus Mahomes. Is Mahomes gonna be Mahomes? Is he going to challenge the best corner in the league and do whatever he can to win this game and just kind of have that vintage Mahomes kind of game? Or is this going to be like the nail in the coffin for the Chiefs season that we see where players like Stingley, Will Anderson, those guys just kind of shut it down and they say like, your era is kind of over, at least for this season.
Yeah.
All right.
My player matchup is kind of sticking to another elite DB who I think is kind of going under the radar a bit, and that's AJ Terrell, who is matching up this week against Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like I mentioned, I think AJ Terrell is one of those players that I think is in the upper echelon with a Pat Surtain and a Derek Stingley, but like it gets close. I think like I think those two are like so good that they're the top 2, and then he's like a B tier below them, if that's fair. But I think B is a bit disservice. Like it's like you know how they do an S tier?
A-.
Yeah, I think it's like all right, Derek Stingley and Pat Surtain are an S tier, and then he's an A tier.
Okay, I'll take that.
And I think like what better way than to go up against a guy who's turned to an S tier guy this type of season. And it's especially the Seahawks offense, which has been just so dominant the past couple of weeks, where it just feels like they can just run through people and then just coast the second half. It's like Nick Sirianni's dream if like that would be the
it was him this time. We're all witnesses. We're
all witnesses, but it just literally just turned my mic and camera off. Like I think it was Nick Sirianni. He heard me take a shot at him.
Yeah, we got Big Dom pushing some buttons right now.
Big Dom is taking out the playback software. But either way, I just think it's gonna be a really good matchup between like AJ Terrell, who I mentioned, is just really going on the radar this season.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch that, because if he is going to be lined up on JSN, like AJ Terrell doesn't get targeted like that. But if you're going to be covering JSN, a guy who the Seahawks clearly rely on, then he's going to have to see some targets. So I think you're right. This is a great matchup where it's like you kind of forced to make this matchup happen.
Yeah.
So that could, unless they find a way to get JSN on one of their other corners, which Mike Hughes, pray to your God.
Yeah, I was looking and I was like, In either way, if even if, like, JSN because you mentioned they're not targeting AJ Terrell, when I was, like, literally trying to look at, like, his stats, like, he doesn't have a single interception, but, like, it's because, like, they don't look his way, like, and he's one of those, like, DBs that can take away a side of the field. And so, like, I definitely could see this also being a Rashid Shaheed game because since he's been there, it's
Ooh.
been kind of a bit quiet. And what better way than to target somewhere else on the field when it's like, all right, JSN's going against one of the top DBs. All right, we need you. This is why we traded for you midseason. This is like the time to step up. So
Yeah, well, AJ Terrell last year, last 2 years, he allowed 4 touchdowns each. He has not allowed a touchdown yet this year. Dang. Yeah, he's a fun watch, man. And it is always sucks when you have like a really good corner on a bad team that it's just kind of like it goes under the radar. So great shout out by you. All right. Anything else? You have any flexes you wanted to throw in there? Any
um
fun ones?
honestly, like, I was looking this weekend, I was gonna say, like, oh, the Steelers and Ravens, like, I was gonna say their respective fan bases. I was, just going against each other 'cause AFC North, I feel like that's always and I think this AFC North matchup especially is just one of the most contentious ones. I also say shout out, Mike Tomlin's job security is a interesting one to keep an
Future
eye
head
on.
coach of the Philadelphia Eagles? No, I'm just kidding. All right.
I I've seen Penn State being thrown around, and it was mostly Big Ben, who's been throwing that around, which
Don't go to Penn State because then I just lose all respect for you.
yeah, they should hire Terry Smith
We
anyways.
are. If I have to see Mike Tomlin yell, "We are," I just like all of my respect will just go out the window.
Honestly, like, at this point, like, he's been with the Steelers for so long, like, I'd see him retiring before he'd go to college and
Yeah, okay. Because like I don't see him retiring. Like some team is gonna take him.
yeah, but, like
Like
but I mean, like, like, why would you like, what do you have to prove, you know?
also, why go to college? Like,
Yeah.
unless you're gonna get the buyout, like, the best job you can get in the world is to be fired as a college head coach because you get these, like, 50 plus $1 million buyouts for being a crappy at your job. So, yeah, if he wants to go down that route, then cool, like, do it, but, like, college in general right now, football is such a mess. Like, I would not wanna be a part of that,
Yeah.
especially if someone that's respected and well known as, like, Mike Tomlin. Like, that would be such a step down for him. I would hate to see it, especially if he went to Penn State. All right. I did want to shout out like a few other games that were happening that were I think will be a lot of fun because there's a lot of good games this week. Okay, wait, hold on, because I was about to start it with a game that you were gonna kill me for mentioning. Actually, no, yeah, screw it. The Jets Dolphins. I think this could actually be a sleeper game of the week. Okay, Devon Achan, uh, Brees Hall going against each other, right? That's going to be a lot of fun. Tyrod Taylor's kind of doing some fun things. I'm not going to say he's going to like, like revive his career, but like the Jets have won a few games. It's been a little fun to watch, man. And then the Dolphins, hey, man, we haven't talked about it a lot because they've been really bad. This second half of the season, they've quietly have been one of the better offenses in the league, especially on the ground with Devon Achan. So like I think this could low key be a really fun game to watch. Tua is a mess. Don't get me don't I don't want that to be misconstrued. Tua is awful. But what the funny part is that like it was like last year where their passing offense was really good, but their running attack was bad. And then this year it's like, hey, we improved our running game. We're doing really well. But Tua is just disintegrating anything we have going on in the passing offense, especially since Tyreek Hill's been out. So yeah, but like I just for some reason, Loki, I think this could be like a really fun game where you're like, it's one of those games where it's like it pops up on red zone like once every 10 minutes. You're like, oh, look at that. And then you see like the highlights later. You're like, wait, this was actually like a fun game. For some reason I just think it's that kind of game.
I will
Yeah.
say Jahmyr Gibbs just got his 3rd touchdown of the game, and
Did you really?
they're up now 43-30 over the Cowboys with
Jameer
2
Gibbs,
minutes
you were
remaining.
my hero in fantasy last year, and you're my hero right now. I appreciate you.
He is my hero in fantasy as well. We actually in a WHIP league, we are currently, it is playoff. We're doing 2 weeks of playoffs, so I need to beat our sports
Playoffs.
2 weeks of playoffs. So, yeah, like, I look, I'm a bad, what's it called? I'm a bad, commissioner. So I just set up the like how it is, and I don't judge it like what the playoff settings are. So whatever it was set to is what it is. So there's 2 weeks of playoffs now. So
It's because you're so focused on running a successful radio
yeah,
station. That's why.
exactly. So, like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
it
yeah,
it
yeah,
kinda
yeah,
slips
yeah,
on the
yeah.
radar. It was like a
You
staff,
know,
but it was like,
there's
"Yeah,
only
we're
so
doing."
many hats you can wear, Jay.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was like, we're doing fantasy league." Yeah, and it's 4 of us in the playoffs, so, that's
What a terrible.
look, it's just how it came out, okay? I realized it too late, and I was like, "I can't change it."
Who's who's in your top? Who's in the top four? Who's in the playoffs?
So it is me and then our 2 sports directors, Max and Lillian, as well as our chief engineer, Aiden, who are all in the top 4 because we were the only ones that actually checked fantasy every week and updated it, which sums up a league of coworkers, but hey,
Well,
no complaints.
hey, I'm rooting for Team J.
I'm
Good luck.
currently I'm projected to beat Lillian, which is I need it, I need it. Jahmyr Gibbs has 37, so I couldn't be more appreciative.
Dang. Wait, what is he? 7 catches for 77 yards. Cowboys, are you trying? What
I
is
mean
happening?
their offense is.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
CeeDee Lamb did go out though, and hasn't returned since.
yeah, but they got prime Terrell Owens with George Pickens out there, so they should be fine.
Most touchdowns over turning 24. They just put that graphic up there, and it's Barry Sanders, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Randy Moss. And Jahmyr Gibbs is tied with Barry Sanders for 47.
So he's gonna break that unless he turns 25 tomorrow, right?
Now I need to see when his birthday is. March 20th. We are good.
Ooh. Hey, they talked about that in previous years, like how he was on his way to that, and I think he's going to break some Barry Sanders records time and time again as long as
Yeah.
he's with that franchise. Which, unless we get a Luka Doncic type thing happening, I think he'll be with them for a while. All right. Anything else from you?
Nope.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. I'll be posting this on YouTube as soon as I can. Thank everybody for being patient with that as we get that going. We're going to be trying to post on social some more as well. And of course, we will be back with a basketball show sooner rather than later, hopefully, because there's always something fun to talk about in the NBA, and there's a lot we need to catch up on, including me, who's going to rewatch this Sixers game because I have watched every single Sixers game, good or bad, this year. So it's nice when I can get games like this to watch.
Well, so wishing you the best with that.
But you don't watch every OKC game?
No, because I can put it on cruise control and know they'll win by 20.
I hate you. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. We will see you again soon.